Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 27th episode of Visioncon Spotlight, your in-depth look at the nerds you love. I'm your host, Zach Wilson, but you didn't come here to meet me today. You came to meet the woman of the hour. She's acclaimed artist, cosplayer, model, and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one, the only, Mindy Kilgore. Mindy, how are we doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Zach?
Dandy as candy. I'm excited to give you a platform to promote your work to the very few people that aren't already fans. I mean, guys, I'm telling you, back before COVID started, whenever I would go downtown, I would, just look at the flyers that would, pepper the storefronts. And often I would see a few that had a very familiar face to it. And I was like, who is that? And then I would remember, oh, that's Mindy. Well, and we're going to explore kind of, your whole background with the art, both performing and non. And so I first wanted to start out with one of my personal favorite, and one that I think you're very well known for. That, of course, is your comic books. So give me one sec to let it share on the page. Okay, Mindy. So before we kind of explore, the inner workings of your comics, give us a brief overview of what inspired you to start making comics. Maybe any fun anecdotes involved, anything at all.
Well, so I've been making comics since I was in about preschool, kindergarten age, around that. So mostly I would read Calvin and Hobbes and Pokemon manga that you get at McDonald's and whatever I could get my hands on. And I would just read that like crazy. And then I would try to replicate that whenever I would be at school. I was always drawing, and I would make books like this thick whenever I was in kindergarten, and that they would just be like, all right, this is all about some cat with superpowers, but she's cranking them out. So I've been doing it for a really long time. I went to school for art, and I try to apply a lot of that knowledge in comics, and I've just been a long time fan. So I have been making web comics for probably a couple years, but I started really consistently doing it during COVID. So starting about almost a year ago exactly, that I started putting out about every 2 weeks, every month or so.
And so it kind of looks to me, and I love them, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, you've been a friend of mine for years. We've worked on projects together. So even if they were terrible, I would obviously still show all of my support, just, to be a good friend. But they're so legitimately funny. And so, but it comes across to me that a lot of them are shown kind of throughout your perspective on actual events in your life. Now, is that always the case, or do you kind of pepper in some basic inspiration from your life sometimes, and others just kind of blow things out of proportion, kind of to this one, which is my personal favorite comic you've ever made?
Yes, I get a lot of my stuff from my personal life, whether it's an actual situation or an interaction that I'm in, and I think that that's interesting, or whether it's something I want to just you're right, exaggerate, giant bugs busting through the door. Most of the time it's just I'm going about my everyday life, and I'll kind of be like, oh, that would be funny, and I have a little book that I write my stuff in, or on my phone, I'll put in my prompts of I'll have to remember this and make it later. So then I also have a little sketchbook. Sometimes I'll think of it visually, and I'll just put out the 4 panels and a general idea of what's happening. And that's how they come about.
Well, the next thing I wanted to explore, and it's something that I mentioned in the intro, and something that you are very fastly rising into prominence with, and that is your modeling. So let's really quick just do a brief overview about your modeling. Give me one sec to that. Okay, so again, give us just a brief overview about how you got into this art form, maybe any fun anecdotes involved, and then we'll kind of explore it a little bit deeper.
Okay, well, mostly I always wanted to be a model whenever I was young. I never thought I could do it because I wasn't really considered attractive whenever I was in school, that's for sure. So a lot of people were telling me that I couldn't do it. But then as I got older, I was something I just really wanted to explore. And I had a couple small opportunities in high school where people were in a prom dress shop getting my prom dress, that they were like, oh, can we take pictures of you in some of these? And I'd be like, yeah. But then whenever I was around 23, I heard about a runway audition for Dieter magazine, and I made it, and kind of the rest is history. I just kind of always kept my eye out for collaboration after that. And I'm really happy with the people I've worked with and some of the amazing photos I've gotten out of it. So it's definitely been like a group effort. Like I really attribute a lot of my success to the wonderful people I've worked with.
And modeling in and of itself has a lot of different genres and like different types of photo shoots. And as we've seen here in this little slideshow that I prepared, you are very well versed in a lot of different genres and a lot of different styles of photo shoots. So I did want to ask, are there any in particular that you particularly enjoy compared to others?
I would say that I like anything I get to wear a costume in. Because don't get me wrong, I love my glamour shoots where it's just me and I'm doing something just regular apparel. But like whenever I get to just dress up, those are my favorites, whether it's pinup or I really like horror. So that is another big part of my modeling is I love to not be me for a second. I love to be a character, and I love to be something that it would be in something you wouldn't wear every day.
And speaking of not being you, now, guys, I don't have to tell you the prominence and the popularity of cosplay. I mean, you see it everywhere, maybe not so much anymore because of COVID, but we're quickly kind of going back to normality. And so, with that, I did want to spotlight one final thing that is a big part of your career in the arts, Mindy. I want to spotlight your cosplay. So, again, to wrap us up, just give us a brief overview of maybe how you got into cosplay and maybe some of the fun anecdotes involved with doing your cosplay, anything at all.
Well, I got into cosplay whenever I was very early on in college. I would say about 19. Because that was another thing. It's just I always had wanted to do it. It seemed so fun, but I was a nerdy, weird kid in school, and the last thing I wanted to bring more attention to me was with cosplay. But then once I was in college, I was just felt really free that I could try new things that I wanted, and cosplay was one of those. And I'm so glad I did, because fully like embracing myself and embracing what I love to do has been a huge part of my growth as an adult.
And obviously, there's overlap between cosplay and modeling. And so I did want to know, did one give you the confidence to do the other or vice versa?
Yeah, I would say that cosplay played a huge part in me having the confidence to come out and start modeling. And because I always wanted to do both, but cosplay came first. And I'd say I learned so much from cosplay to bring into modeling. Like whenever I would go to cons, I had to see photos of myself. People would take pictures of me, and I would have to go, oh, and that angle, I don't look like I'm doing this. So how do I fix that? And what poses can I do that either represent the character or they, just look good on camera? So I'd say that if I hadn't started doing that, I probably wouldn't have been good at being on camera in the first place.
Well, we've thrown a lot of information at the viewers right now, and it's justly because you are one of the busiest people I know. So how can people, fans, new and old, come to find you and kind of enjoy more of your content?
Well, you can find any of my art at Mkilgoreart, which is Mkilgore art. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I try to post my comics every other week at least. Sometimes I get busy, but try to post weekly. And then most of my modeling and cosplay is limited to just my personal Instagram and Facebook, but like my Instagram is at Miss Firepower, but I'm in the process of putting together some more stuff soon, so I'm a little easier to find. And then on Twitter, I do admittedly post my modeling as well. So, but I'm working on getting that a little bit more streamlined, and I'll be announcing some more stuff in the future about that. Yeah.
And I've got all those links down in the description box below, guys, for you guys to check out. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 27 of Visioncon Spotlight. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm your host, Zach Wilson, but much more importantly, this has been my very special guest, Mindy Kilgore. Make sure to check out all the links down in the description box below, guys. And until next time, always remember that life's better when you have friends to share it with.